what I'm trying to do is find the Punyalaroo Caves. But I really have no idea where they are, and the map that I have is not real good. It's very, very hot and there's bull ants everywhere. And I'm just waiting to see a snake. But anyway, the caves that are around here somewhere have two massive logs in it. And the Aboriginal story goes with those is that a man stole a wife from another man many thousands of years ago, and he took her downstream here on a canoe. And the owner of the wife, he was so angry that he took caves underground and came up here somewhere. And there was a huge fight, and there was thunder and lightning and storms and all sorts of things. Anyway, after the huge battle, the man who had his wife stolen from him, he'd won the fight back, and he won his wife back, and he took her back upstream. And from there, behind, he left these two massive spears. And somewhere in a cave around here are two huge monstrous logs, and they're apparently his spears. Now there's no way that the logs could have got into the caves here because it's just too far off the water. And the last flood they had in this area was about 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. So the Aboriginal story goes that there was a huge fight, a huge battle, there's bull ants everywhere, and after the battle, the man won his wife back, took her back upriver, and left his spears behind in the cave here somewhere. Yet the cave, I don't know where it is, but apparently it's around here somewhere. So we're going to go back down to the river, down to the lake, across through the mud again, back to the boat, and then we'll carry on a bit and see if we have more luck or better luck further on up the river. Well, we've just passed Pelican Point and we're about 307 kilometres from the river mouth. Now, this section of the river in the paddle steamer days used to be very busy, and further upstream the corners start to get very, very windy and twisty, and they start to turn back on themselves. Now, the rule of thumb back in the olden days was when you would approach a blind corner in a paddle steamer, you'd give 3 long toots of your whistle to warn oncoming traffic. But another way that a lot of the riverboat captains used to do it was if there was birds on the riverbank, obviously there'd be no paddle steamer to scare them off, so they'd just keep on going, they wouldn't slow down. And if the birds would fly off, or they'd see the riverbank empty and bare of birds, they'd assume that something was coming and they'd slow down. It may not be a good way to do it, but certainly a lot of the riverboat captains back in the paddle steamer days used to do it that way. Now we're also in what is known as the Bunyip Country. Now there's been no real sightings of what was once thought to be a bunyip since the locks were put in about 1870s. But before that it wasn't uncommon as far up as this to see fur seals and seals from the ocean. And even back at Manham, which is 150 kilometres back and 150 kilometres from the ocean, you could see dolphins occasionally. And also, it wasn't an irregular thing to see people standing on the riverbank spearing garfish, mullet and salmon. So hopefully the bunyip they talk about was a fur seal, but who really knows? Now we're here at the Wharf St Morgan now, 320 kilometres from the ocean. And this area was known as the Great Northwest Bend, as the river so far, as we've been travelling, has been flowing in a southerly direction. And it's here it turns right angles and heads towards the Kosciuszko National Park, which is about 2,000 kilometres from this point. Now Morgan at one stage had the greatest and busiest port in the whole of South Australia. But that was until the railways came. For when they did, they took pretty much all the work away from these wharfs with them. But as its busiest time, these wharfs here, they had up to 24 paddle steamers a week visiting her. And they had men working on 24-hour shifts just to keep up with the demand. Now the paddle steamers that left these wharfs would carry anything from general cargo to flour, wheat and sugar, and then whatever else the people along the riverbanks needed to live with. And they say that everything that went anywhere came from these wharfs, went to these wharfs, or passed through them. But as I said, once the railways made it to this town, the wharfs here went from about 40,000 tonnes of produce a year, transporting them out, moving things around, to zero, as everyone was choosing the railway for it was cheaper and a lot quicker. And another thing about these wharfs is they're about 60 or 70 metres long at the moment, but they used to be twice the size. Half it's been set fire to, half it's fallen down, and the other half a few years ago got taken away by huge floods. Now they say that when these wharfs were at their busiest, there was men running all over the place backwards and forwards. There was a select bunch of people that would sit here, relax and drink their alcohol. But to get into that gang, what you had to do was climb to the top of this crane, swing it out over the water and then dive in head first and not die. Now they say that a lot of people wanted to be in this gang, a lot of people wanted to sit here and drink their alcohol, but so I hear there wasn't actually that many people that did. On the bank to the right here, we have a cattle station which is called Northwest Bend Station. Now when it was at its biggest in the early days, the size of the actual property was 1,600 square kilometres. It was huge, and it had on it 94,000 sheep, 500 cattle, and about 300 horses. But then back in the 1860s it had a huge drought, and 15,700 sheep died just because of lack of water. And the ones that didn't die because of the lack of water actually died by the packs of wild dogs that used to roam all throughout this area. So it was a huge loss to the property. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, that way you'll get notified to all my new videos when I upload them. And if you want to contact me, you can do so through my website, the link's in the description below. See you next time.